Welcome to Walk the Line. Well, I'm your host, OG Chris Murray, and y'all know what time it is. The DML just kicked off a new Madden cycle, and it's time to dive into them golden picks. But I got my co-host, Ralph O'Matic, in the building. What's going on, Ralph?
What up, what up? Let's get it popping.
All right, you already know what time it is, man. We're going to provide y'all with these week 2 golden picks. We're going to break down each game, man. So we ain't going to hold y'all up. Let's dive right into it. First up, we got Taz and the Cincinnati Bengals versus Niner Time and the Cleveland Browns. Okay, the Browns last week, I liked the way that they came out. They managed to run the rock well, and I don't expect nothing to change this week going up against Taz and the Bengals, who gave up a total of 207 rushing yards on the ground. However, if it's one thing that I think that Taz could take out of his week 1 matchup is just simply the way his offensive line played, okay? They managed to protect Joe Burrow, only giving up 1 sack against a high-powered LA pass rush. So I think they got to come out this week with the same mentality going up against a guy by the name of Myles Garrett. But what's your thoughts on this matchup, Ralph?
Man, same thing. I'm looking at, Taz, and he likes his new toy, Burrow. He threw 36 times. He didn't really run the ball, so I need to see more of a balance there if he wants to put something together offensively. As for the Browns, they got the dub. But where's Baker Mayfield? Looking at his stats, kind of non-existent. He did get 2 defensive touchdowns last week. But I do like the Browns this week against the Bengals.
I'm locked in with you, too. So we both taking the Browns, getting the W going into week 3. Moving on, we got Big Homie and the Giants versus Solomon Kane and the Chicago Bears. Now, this is something a little bit crazy what I'm about to say, so it might shock a lot of people that's listening. Mitchell Trubisky played well last week. This guy managed to come out, not only manage the game for his team, but secure the W for these guys. And I think this week, the way that the Giants play and the way that the game is shaped out, as far as giving the quarterback a lot of time with being able to be back there making multiple reads, I think he's going to continue that same level of play this week. The Giants, the big homie, came out, secured a W last week. He has a high-powered guy by the name of Saquon Barkley who went off last week. This right here is going to be one of those games where it comes down to, in my opinion, which offense can outperform the other. And I'm locked in, man, with the Chicago Bears getting a W because Khalil Mack didn't manage to get not 1 sack or 1 touch on the quarterback last week. So I'm expecting Khalil Mack to come out a little bit fired up, going up against a shaky offensive line, helping pump some energy into that defense. But I got the Bears, man, getting the W going into week 3. What's your thoughts on this matchup?
I'm going the same way. I mean, Trubisky with 3 tubs last week. He looked real good managing the game. The defense is in place. So if he can, get that offense rolling in the right direction, he's going to be a force. The Giants, you had Saquon. He had 7 receptions for 55 yards, but you need to get him more involved out of the backfield. 37 yards on 12 carries, that's not a good average. He had 2 tubs. But I really think the ball that offense needs to run through Barkley rather than Daniel Jones at this point. But I got the Bears as well.
100%. Moving on, we got under 2 rated in the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Schemer and the Tennessee Titans. Now, the Schemer, okay, he caught a lot of smoke when he took the Tennessee Titans in the DML Mad 21 draft. However, it seems like he's taking that smoke that he caught and he's fueling his team because he came out in the week 1 matchup, okay, against Sweets and a Denver Broncos team who's still trying to figure things out, and what I would say is he popped his shit. Okay, he ran the ball well with Derrick Henry. Ryan Tannehill managed to manage the game. He threw for a total of he had 15 attempts, and out of those 15 attempts, he completed 11 of them. So he showed that when it came down to passing the ball, making good reads, he managed to do that. However, this week, I gotta go with my gut on this one, man. Even though I might catch a little fire from this one, I gotta go with my gut. I think it's smoke and mirrors, man. I'm not sold on this Tennessee Titans team. Even though they got guys like Clowney and multiple other high pieces on the defensive side, I'm going with under 2 rated on this one because I feel like even though under 2 rated is entering this matchup sort of pretty much on the handicap limp because all of his players are gone. It was traded for the season. I think he's going to figure out somehow, some way how to get these guys that's filling in these holes that click this week against this Tennessee Titans team. So with my pick, man, I'm going with the upset pick of the week. I got The Jacksonville Jaguars getting the W going into week 3. What's your thoughts on this matchup? Who you going with?
Man, is it even an upset, though? I mean, I think we're giving a little bit too much credit to Schema. I mean, we had talked about it last season at the end. Get Sweets year 1 with them Broncos, I couldn't stop Under on the ground. He ran all over me. A lot of people had good rushing attacks. Neither one of these teams wants to throw the ball, but I think in Under's situation, he doesn't have the weapons necessarily yet or doesn't have the team figured out, so he's playing smart. Whereas, Schema, he just handed the ball off 34 times and let Derrick Henry fall forward.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't taking anything away from him, but I think if you force him to throw the ball, I don't think he can beat you. Prove me wrong, but I got the Jags.
Ooh, I like it. Moving on, we got C-Rob of the Carolina Panthers versus Andy and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, this game right here, okay, the Bucs came out and they played very well in the week 1 matchup. Balanced attack. We had Brady clicking. We had Leonard Fournette clicking. It was nothing that this team could not have done wrong, okay? I think, I'm just being honest, man, the way that this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team is shaped up on the offensive side of the ball, okay, has to be. Now, I might be speaking out too far, okay, but the way that this team played week 1, when it came to running the ball and throwing the ball, this is one of the most, by far, so far, balanced offenses that I have seen, okay, out the gate. And this guy, he proved it, putting it together on the field. Now, of course, some smoke when that top 10 list dropped. But Andy showed me in his week 1 matchup that this is the reason why he was on that list, okay? He's going up against a Carolina Panthers team who last week, even though they was able to secure the W, they defense showed a little bit of shakiness in it. Now, they managed to stop the run game, but this week they're going up against Leonard Fournette. So the same way that defense managed to hold that Las Vegas Raiders team under 50 yards rushing is the same week that they're going to have to figure out how to make this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense one-dimensional. But I'm going with my gut on this one. I'm taking Andy and the Bucs, getting the W, continuing that hot start going into week 3. What's your thoughts on who going on this matchup?
Man, that Bucs team is loaded. 5 tubs with Brady, 200 on the ground with Fournette. I mean, just loaded. But you're looking at C-Rob. I mean, he got all those turnovers from H-Bo. But I ain't going to discount a couple of things. He's got that rookie from Penn State on the defensive line, Gross Matos from Penn State. 2.5 sacks, 4 tackles. Then he's also got the other rookie at defensive tackle, Derek Brown from Auburn, who had half a sack and 2 tackles. I think he's going to get after Brady a little bit, and it's going to come down to the turnover battle, but I'm taking Andy in a game closer than we think.
Okay, we locked in. Next up, we got Sweets versus Sweets 99 and the Denver Broncos versus Skill Trade and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, this game right here is one of those games that Sweets needed. I'm going to say need to get things going in the right direction. Even though, okay, a lot of guys had this Denver Broncos team taking the year 1. I think that Sweets is still figuring things out. Okay, and this is the matchup right here where he can sort of pretty much test things out. I'm not going to waste no time on this pick. I still think this is the same skill trade that we have seen in previous cycles, whereas though this guy, he managed to keep the game close, but somehow, some way, always managed to put his own foot in his mouth. So I'm not going to waste no time on this pick. I'm taking Sweets. The Denver Broncos getting a bounce back W by at least 14 points or more going into week 3. What's your thoughts on this matchup? Who are you going with?
Man, I didn't like what I saw from Sweets. I mean, he got upset, struggled, but he only had 6 rushing attempts last week. 6. Mm-hmm. All right, that do it. On the defensive side, he had a couple people with a lot of tackles. Alexander Johnson with 13, Kareem Jackson with 12. I just don't like the way he's playing right now. I don't think he's found the balance, and we're not going to discount the fact that Judy is now hurt. His leading receiver from last week is out with that upper arm fracture for 5 weeks. I'm calling an upset. Steelers taking the dub.
Woo! Got upset alert. Moving on. Next we have my fault. Moving on. Next up we have the Rams and Flair versus KP and the Chiefs. Now, looking at the way the Eagles played last week, man, which is one thing that I did not like, and that's the way that KP was turning the ball over. Okay, Wentz could not manage to throw a dot to save his life. Okay, throwing 4 interceptions. This week, even though it's Flair, things do not get easier because the O-line is going to have to figure out how to stop that high-powered Los Angeles Rams pass rush, but he also has Jalen Ramsey to worry about, okay? Carson Wentz needs to get in the film room and get in the film room fast and figure out how to leave Ramsey alone, but also still be able to get this offense going in the right direction. Now, with Flair, even though this Rams team is loaded on defense, he had an okay game if you was safe from Flair against the expert in the Cowboys in week 1. But come on, man, Flair is going to be Flair. This is a bounce back win for the Eagles. Carson Wentz coming out, lighting up that secondary, staying away from Jalen Ramsey. Okay, do not pick on that man. He's one of the most highest paid cornerbacks in the league. Do not let that man come out there and show you why. Okay, but I got the Eagles getting a W going into week 3. What's your thoughts on this game? Who you going with?
Man, I like the way Flair played last week. I know we're used to the way Flair used to be and the way Flair is, but I'm looking at it here and now. I don't like the way the Eagles played. I know the football team has that D-line from hell, but he only ran 9 times with Miles Sanders. And get this, the wide receivers on that team only had 5 receptions. He targeted Zach Ertz and Miles Sanders with a total of 10 receptions. Mm-hmm. I think that plays right into Flair's hands, using the linebacker, getting pressure with that defensive line. And Ramsey's going to lock down who? He's not even throwing to the receivers. I think Flair plays ball control with Akers, who had 146 yards last week, and wins this game. Flair in an upset.
Ooh, dang, it's going down this week. Moving on, we had nasty Atlanta Falcons versus expert at Dallas Cowboys. This game right here, Dallas Cowboys came out, managed to cause turnovers and capitalize on them, and also was a big game on the ground for that man, yes, Ezekiel Elliott. He went off for a total of 133 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns to help expert secure his W going into week 3. The Falcons, man, what's your thoughts on the Falcons in this matchup? Do you think that it's time to hit that panic button, or you think it's too early to be saying that?
I think it's too early. I mean, the game already did go down. You know, Expert had a big game. I think he's struggling to find an identity on offense. He's got, a lot of weapons now. He's got Gurley. He's got those receivers that tight end. I think he just needs to find an identity and then go from there at this point. That defense is nice. I mean, he's got a nice, solid squad. He just needs to figure out the direction that he wants to go.
Now, next up, we had a game that was already played. We know our quick recap. We had Centaur and the Detroit Lions versus Embro and the Green Bay Packers. This game right here was exactly what you see the score was, man. Something they got out of hand very fast, and the Detroit Lions did not have enough to either contend or compete with the way that the Packers was playing today. Embro, man, he threw me off by surprise. I ain't gonna say threw me off by surprise, but he took a leap of faith when he started both rookie quarterback Love and I forget the rookie running back name as the starters entering the season. But the proof is in the pudding, man. Love went off today, throwing a total of 6 passing touchdowns to throw for 500 passing yards. Some may be upset with me because they said I woke up to sleeping giant, but I like when he playing like this. I'm glad that list set fire under this Packers team, but I hope that the power ranking list keeps the fire going and the fumes going on everybody else's. But what's your thoughts on this matchup right here? Did you have the Packers winning by this large margin when you seen this week 2 matchup?
I really didn't know what to expect. I kind of picked Embro to win. I just knew in the back of my mind. But he scored 35 points in the 4th quarter. I mean, that is sad. I mean, Centaur, you got to figure some stuff out. You came in here flashing them rings and then wonder why you get that hate. Well, the champ just put up 35 in the 4th and blew you out. So do something. 6 picks and no touchdowns with Stafford. 36.3 rating. Woo, that ain't going to cut it, sir.
No, that's not going to cut it at all. Moving on, we got Darkness and the Minnesota Vikings versus Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to take lead on this. So what's your thoughts on this matchup and how will you manage to secure the W?
Well, I lost by 10 last week, turning the ball over hella times. I did bench Rivers. He couldn't even complete a slant route. Just the 85 throw power ain't working for me. So I'm going with the rookie Eason, his 93 throw power, big frame. And I'm going to try and have a balanced attack. I know that, he's going to try and run the ball over there with Cook. So I figure I stop the run game, make him beat me passing, hopefully get some of those interceptions. But I like my chances.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest right here, man. After seeing, how the Vikings played last week, it's just some guys you're not sold on, man. And I'm not sold on the way that Darkness plays. No matter what cycle it is. Darkness is one of those guys who's going to come out and play you tough. But like I said about skill trade, he just manages to allow the game to slip out of his hands. And I'm not sold on him, man. I'm not sold. So I'm not going to waste no time on this pick. I'm getting you with the W. Get things going back in the right direction heading into week 3. Moving on next, we got BGZ and the San Francisco 49ers versus Marlowe and the New York Jets. I'm going to let you take lead on this one, man, because this is my division mate. So I seen how he played last week. But what's your thoughts on this matchup? Who you going with?
I mean, the Niners, Mostert had 192 yards on the ground. Jimmy was accurate. He was effective. And you look at Sam Darnold on the other side, 1 touchdown, 5 interceptions. I simply think this game is going to be controlled on the defensive front by Bruce, with that defensive line controlling the game on the ground. I like the 49ers.
And the thing is this right here. This is the thing right here. What I like about Bruce and the San Francisco 49ers team. He's a guy who's going to take what the defense gives him. It no matter if it's 3 yards, 2 yards. He's patiently going to pick your defense apart. Now, that defense, after playing them last week, that defense is something serious to deal with because they do not lack anything at any position on that side of the field. When it comes to the pass rush, when it comes to the linebackers, filling in the holes, whether it's them dropping back in coverages or coming up to stop a running play, and that aggressive secondary back there with Richard Sherman. Marlowe is going to have to figure out one thing, okay? And that's one thing is, even though it's one thing, it's a big one thing. Figure out how to solve this puzzle of this San Francisco 49ers team. Because the way that like you mentioned, the way that Sam Darnold played last week is not going to cut it in this matchup. But, however, I'm going with the best team in this one. And the best team, in my opinion, is the San Francisco 49ers. So I'm locked in with Bruce getting the W going into week 3. Moving on, we had my Arizona Cardinals go up against the football team with Cape with the bus. This game right here was a good game, man. But both users managed to see Madden bullshit at its best. Okay, if you got a chance to watch this game right here, it was just top of the line Madden bullshit on both sides of the field. But the bus managed to kick a clutch 50-yard field goal to secure the W. It was a good game, but like I said, man, it was top of the line Madden bullshit on both sides. But the Redskins, my fault, Washington football team managed to get the W going into week 3. Moving on, we got SJ and the Kansas City Chiefs versus Tone Dog and the Los Angeles Chargers. Yo, the way that SJ played last week, was you surprised to see that Kansas City Chiefs come out and play that good?
Man, I had heard about him and how he used to like to pass the ball, but all I knew was inside zone, SJ. That's all I knew. All game long inside zone. But you got 400 yards between 2 receivers? He put the league on notice for sure.
Listen, man, when I seen Tyreek Hill, okay, and I see that boy Hartman laying to SJ, I already knew what time it was, man. And he showed me week 1 coming out. Listen, 2 wide receivers, 3 receiving touchdowns, and both of them went for damn near over 200 receiving yards. That's sick, man. That is sick. The Chargers is going to have to figure out how to create pressure on Patrick Mahomes, okay? Because the way that Joey Bosa played last week, and the way that, even though they secured the W, but the way that team played, that front defensive forward played last week, it's not going to cut it in this one. Joey Bosa, no sacks last week. This is the week that you have to come out on top of your A game, because if you don't, your secondary is going to be very frustrated at you, and you might have your stuff thrown out of the locker room. But with this one right here, man, it's hard to pick against this high-powered Kansas City Chiefs team. So with my pick, I'm going with the Chiefs getting the W going into week 3. What's your thoughts on this one? Who are you going with?
Unless, the Chargers come out. He was 9-13 with Herbert for 3 picks. That's very unimpressive. Now, he did have over 200 yards on the ground with Eckler, which is nice. He's going to have to control the ball. If you keep putting it in SJ's hand, he's going to put up 70 for sure this week. I just don't think there's enough there offensively outside of Eckler at this point in week 2, so I'm going with it.
Okay, moving on. We got Addy 5 in the Baltimore Ravens versus JB in those Houston Texans. Both of these guys into this matchup coming off of a loss in their week 1 matchup. Now, I'm gonna ask you, man. Did we get a sight of the real Baltimore Ravens team in that week 1 loss against the Cleveland Browns, or is this Addy still figuring things out?
I mean, he went up against a tough opponent. The Browns is no pushover. You know, he didn't really have an opportunity, an easy week 1 game. I think he's still feeling out the team. I liked what Malik Harrison, the rookie linebacker, did from Ohio State. He had 8 tackles. But what I didn't like is his rushing attack. Lamar cannot be your leading rusher week after week. And he was 10 carries, 137 yards. You got to get J.K. Dobbins involved. You got to get those speedy receivers more involved. You got to get the offense going here. It can't just solidly be through Lamar. Get those running backs, get those receivers, those tight ends, and then force some turnovers on defense. And I think you'll be all right.
All right, so I'm gonna listen. I don't think that I guess I gotta just piggyback on what you said, man. I knew from the gate that it was going to be a battle against those two teams, the Browns and the Ravens. But I think this is the week right here where you will be able to see. It's just some of them games that you get on your schedule that you need to be like, okay, I can decompress, I can regroup, and I can come out and we can try to get things going in the right direction. But this is not that week. I'm going to tell you why, man. Because the way that JB has this Houston Texans team, even though they lost last week, he got something cooking up in the kitchen, man. He has something cooking up in the kitchen. And the way that Texans offense with Will Fuller, Deshaun Watson, this is going to be a tough game for these Baltimore Ravens. However, I'm going to go with the upset, man. I'm going to go with the upset pick on this one. I got to make it. I'm going with the upset pick. And I'm taking JB at home, feeding off of that home crowd energy, getting a W, going into week 3, man. What's your thoughts on this one? Who you going with?
I'm going to go with Addy. I think that week 1 loss, really made him hit the lab and, kind of maybe get used to that team a little bit more. I know that, JB put up a lot of points last week against the Chiefs, but I mean, look at that game in general. He was playing catch up the entire game, so of course there's going to be a lot of yards, a lot of points. I'm going with Addy to get the ship right.
All right, man. Moving on, we got Vimo and the New England Patriots versus King Vitamin and the Seattle Seahawks. Vitamin came out last week, man, and this Seattle Seahawks team is very scary. Okay, they're very scary. It was a good game against the Atlanta Falcons, man, but this Seattle Seahawks team is very scary. With Russell Wilson slinging a rock and with this solid rushing game with Chris Carson, okay? If he can figure out how to eliminate the turnovers, because Russell Wilson did turn the ball over 2 times last week, but if he can figure out how to come into this matchup with a better performance from Russell Wilson eliminating the turnovers and Chris Carson with the same exact mindset of grounding and pounding, it will open up things for DK Metcalf, who went off for a total of 176 receiving yards for 3 goddamn receiving touchdowns. I feel like this is the game that DK can continue to not say compete, but should be able to get off, because Stephon Gilmore is over there on that New England Patriots secondary, and he is a 99 rated cornerback. But however, I think that this should be the game where he can continue to keep that level of play, because this bull, man, he's a bad bull, man. Watching him last week just fly down the field, man, you don't really understand how fast this guy really is until you actually watch him. And I got a chance to tune into this game, man. So my pick, I'm going to go with the blazing hot Seattle Seahawks with DK Metcalf having another big game, man. What's your thoughts for this game? What are you going with?
I'm going to have to agree with you. I'm going to have to go with the Seahawks just because I don't like what I saw in New England. I know who his opponent was week 1, but Edelman, 4 for 88, is your leading receiver. I mean, you got young guys. You got Asi over there. You got Damiere Byrd. You got Sony Michel that you can get the ball to out of the backfield. I just don't see him utilizing enough of those weapons. And I think that Metcalf and Russell Wilson are going to do their thing again. So I like the Seahawks.
Moving on, we got Butters and the New Orleans Saints versus HBO and the Las Vegas Raiders. This game right here is flat out what it is, man. Both guys got smacked around week 1. The Saints got tore up by the Bucks. The Raiders got tore up by Who did they play?
Panthers.
The Panthers. So I think that this is right here is going to have to come down to which team can regroup the fastest, and just flat out perform, execute it on the playing field. Raiders, man, they got so many solid pieces over there, man, but HBO got to figure it out, man. And with the Saints, it's the same thing. It's like both of these guys got so much firepower on both sides of the field, man. But like I said, it's going to come down to which guy can execute it on the playing field. But my pick, man, even though I don't want to go with this pick, even though I don't want to make this pick, man, but I got to go with HBO on this one, man. I got to, man. I'm going to go with HBO and the Raiders getting the W going into week 3. What's your thoughts on this game and who you going with?
Man, I think HBO is lost. That man used every quarterback on his depth chart and still couldn't. Now, I know Kamara only averaged 2.3 yards a carry, but, he was down, maybe not focusing on the run as much as he should have. But I just like the weapons on New Orleans better, and I like where Butters is a little bit better. Not saying he's much better, but HBO just looks lost without Lamar. He does. So I got the Saints in this one.
All right, so y'all got the weekly game picks, and that's down to the game of the week. We got Matty Ice and the Buffalo Bills versus Tight Work and the Miami Dolphins. Now, let's dive into this game, man. Both guys coming off of a week 1 W, of course. What was your thoughts on the Dolphins' performance in that week 1 matchup?
I liked it. I mean, at this point, you know what you're going to get from Tight Work year in and year out. He's going to play smart. He's not going to make bad decisions. I mean, he had 2 out there, 10-13, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. And then Howard absolutely went off. 13 carries, almost 240 yards, 18 yards a carry. Woo! You already know what you get. All right, if he gets that receiving core in line, watch out, because he actually has a legit quarterback. Roll Tide.
Now, this is the thing right here with the Bills, man. Listen, everybody that hears me talking about Tight Work in the Miami Dolphins, man, y'all already know what it comes down to, man. What it comes down to flat out the gate. Now, this shit right here, I'm gonna explain something to y'all, man. It's a little bit more dangerous because, like my co-host Ralph just said, he actually has a good quarterback starting out the gate, okay? But you gotta stop that run game. This dude, when is it going to click, okay, in your head when Jordan Howard got to over 100 yards rushing that, listen, fuck this, okay? I'm stacking 8 in the box. I'm blitzing every single play. I'm going to force him to put this game into his hand, okay? Matty Ice, all right? Last week, you allowed the New York Jets to rush for over 133. Now, you managed to secure the W, but this is the week where you got to take the OG advice, baby. Stack 8 in the box. Force this man to have to put the game in his rookie quarterback's hand and force that wide receiver group who doesn't have a number 1 threat to beat you, okay? You cannot, I repeat, you cannot come out and allow Tight Work to run this rock down your throat because it's going to be a very long week for your Buffalo Bills defense, okay? Stop the run. Force Tua to become the man that has to secure the W for Tight, and this should be a tough game for Tight Work and these Dolphins. I feel like out the gate, this is the game that the Buffalo Bills have to make a statement that they're able to compete with this division because everybody wrote Tight Work off with winning this division all cycle. So with my pick, man, I'm going with Matty Ice getting the W going into week 3. What's your thoughts for this game and who you going with?
Look, man, Matty Ice, he let the Jets run all over him, and I'm sorry, Marley is not even close to being on Tight Work's level. He threw 5 picks, yes, 5 touchdowns, but 5 picks. No running game. Devin Singletary out of the backfield, 4 carries for 9 yards. TJ Yeldon, 1 carry for 2 yards. If you want any shot against Tight, you have to be able to control the ball, running it and throwing it. Now, it looks real nice, Stephon Diggs and John Brown with about 150 yards apiece. But I think Tight Work's got a couple guys over the name by Byron Jones and Xavier Howard. I think he can lock them up. So you're going to have to pull something out of your hat to beat Tight. I'm going with my homie Tight in an easy one.
All right, I got all the weekly picks, the game of the week. Now, I wanted to add something new to the show. All right, where me and my co-host would simply pick one player, whether it's offense or defense, and hope that they become the breakout player of the week. Now, with me, I'll kick things off. My breakout player of the week in this week two, in these week 2 games, I wanted to go with Leonard Fournette. Okay, I just don't think the Carolina Panthers have enough to slow him down, and the way that Andy is throwing the ball is going to have to make the Carolina Panthers defense think on their feet, and I think that Leonard Fournette is going to go off for have another great game this week. So with my player, I'm going with Leonard Fournette. Who you going with for the breakout player this week?
For me, I'm going with Addy and J.K. Dobbins. I think he's going to figure out that he's got to run the ball more than 7 times for 23 yards, and I think Dobbins has a big week, at least 150 yards rushing.
All right, man, I got our weekly picks. I got game of the week. I got breakout players of the week. I'm your host, OG Chris Murray, and we out.